Da 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 dun dun da 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 dun dun da. JoshCast. Da 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 da. What up? JoshCast. Da 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 da. Ha ha. Josh is casting and he's talking about things. Then maybe he'll talk about some more things. JoshCast. Dun 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 dun. Tremendous production value, I would say, on this podcast. Hello, my name is Joshua Snyder, and I am terrified about everything, and that's my through line that I'm working with right now. And when I say that it's a through line that I'm working with, what I mean is that's what I am. Terrified of everything. I am really good at always being worried about something. What it is today, I would say, is do I have a heart problem? Because it seems like I've been having heart palpitations and that my heart might be skipping a beat. Somebody said, hey, Josh, is it because you're in love? And no, I'm not. No, I'm not love. No. I'm in fear of my life, I think would be, which actually for me, psychologically speaking, might be a form of being in love, because I just continue to be attracted to the idea of being in fear of my life of some kind. There always has to be something I'm afraid of. I think, and I'm really excited about this, I think the next thing I'm going to worry about again is I'm going to go back to worrying about my moles. It's been a while since I've been worried about those, which have been taken off and have grown back. My moles are healthier than I am. I wish I had that ability to just regenerate. Perhaps Doctor Who, if you will. Oh, that'd be great. I could regenerate into a different British character actor every time. And maybe occasionally, here and there a woman, just to be progressive. That's what I'm hoping for. Or a person of color. That would be phenomenal. Then again, maybe that is what happens if we are reincarnated. And the next time around, I might be any one of those things, or a bird, or a raccoon, or perhaps a Honda. I don't know. There's a theory that all things have an innate spirituality, perhaps even Hondas. I think they do. I think they're benevolent. They're on our side. Not so sure about the Kias. That's not fair. I'm just trying to be funny. Kias also seem inherently nice too. Humvees, I don't know. That's an issue. They seem. They definitely have an attitude problem. That's the vibe I get from a Humvee. Definitely a spirit with an attitude problem. Not sure what to make of that. But what I really want to talk about is bullying. I was lucky because the kids at school who bullied me were really progressive about it. There was no racial stuff going on. No one ever really got on me for being Jewish. They stuck to the fact that they knew that I was easily perturbed, I think, and they just kind of went for that. Definitely went for that. There was I was in a school play in third grade, and the name of the character that I played was Bentley, and so there's this girl who was constantly calling me Bentley, and I said, "Don't call me Bentley," and she continued to call me Bentley for a year, and this was a major source of terror and frustration for me. Because I am by nature very weak, and when I think back on it, because and the other thing that occurs to me too is that I think there were times where I bullied other kids. There was a neighbor kid who was really annoying, and I remember I think I pushed him over once because he was just being annoying, and that's what I'm realizing is that if somebody was being annoying, I'm the bully. Which is now adding to the guilt level that I feel in general. So now I feel like I'm destroyed that person's life. Who knows what kind of psychological problems I've caused another person, and who knows what he could be doing now with that. I mean, he could be the head of a cult, or he could be. I don't know. He could be going around physically abusing Hondas. I mean, hopefully not, but that's a possibility, and that would be a shame. Someone's got to stop him. And I don't mean stop, in a physical sort of beat them up way. I mean stop in terms of give them counseling, because you shouldn't treat a Honda that way. Hondas have done nothing wrong to this planet. Well, I mean, other than pollute the planet. But then again, that's not their fault. They are what they are. I fear this podcast has been derailed. At any rate, bullying. Yes, bullies, very progressive. And, when I think back on it and on the bullies who bullied me, I'm not speaking for other people who have been bullied by any stretch of the imagination. But in my particular case, I really, looking back, 8 times out of 10, I think I deserved it. Because I was kind of that annoying guy who's trying to be your friend. That's what I was. I was always trying to be. I would pick out like the popular kid and try to be their friend, because then I thought, oh, maybe I will be popular if I am the popular kid's friend. And they were very annoyed by that. I always tried to be a member of the entourage, and I was inevitably like the Zeta male of the entourage, where I was the butt of all the jokes. And so then I didn't like that, so I responded by withdrawing from the human race. And as much as I'd like to say that withdrawing from the human race has been a bad thing, and it generally has, there are so many positive attributes of withdrawing from the human race. So many. I can watch whatever I want on Netflix without guff from people. Without guff, I tell you. So what I'd like to say is I'd like to say to all the people who I have bullied that I'm sorry. And I'm sure they're listening to this podcast. And for all the people who bullied me, I just want to say I forgive you. And you know what? Good job. Really good job. You got it. You did a good job preparing me for the reality of the outside world. And for those of you out there who are being bullied, can I say it gets better? Is that trademarked? I'm not sure if that's trademarked. It gets better. It does get better. Because what's going to happen is you're going to grow up, and you're going to enter the real world, and you're going to see that that bullying never really goes away. But what you can do is leave the room. So that's huge. That is such a huge thing. Can't do that in high school. Can't leave the room. But in the adult world, you can totally leave the room. It's wonderful. And you can go into another room and probably deal with different problems in that room, usually financial. But yes, it gets better. And if you're someone who's doing the bullying, hey, stop it. Okay, please stop it. And I don't say that from a point of threatening. I can't threaten you. If you're a bully, I can't threaten you to stop, because I don't have that power. I don't know where you are. And even if I did, and I went to your house, I'm worried about these heart palpitations. So I'm not going to take any physical chances. I can implore you to stop bullying and maybe look within yourself and see that you're the one with the problem and that you need counseling. That I can do. But in terms of physically being able to stop you, I'm all out. I could run you over with my Honda, but I don't want to do that to the Honda. Again, it's going to cause an axle problem more than likely, because I just envision that you're a big enough person, a physically big enough person as a bully, that you would bend an axle on the Honda. I could sideswipe you. That I might do. I might put that on my to-do list, maybe. But beyond that, don't bully. I happened to be at a little cafe yesterday. It wasn't a cafe. A cafe that's where you go to write a novel, and that's like a sexy place. Where a cafe, it was built in the 1850s somewhere in France, and I'm sitting there writing a novel, and a beautiful woman walks in, and she sits down next to me, and she says, "Are you a poet?" And I say, "No, I'm a stand-up comedian." And she says, "Oh, well, comedy is the poetry of bodily functions." And I say, that was a good attempt at something. I see kind of where you were going, but I'm not totally on board with that. And she said, "Well, I wouldn't know how to make this into a funny situation because I am a poet." And I would say, "Oh, what kind of poetry do you write?" And she says, "Well, I like to write about Hondas." And I'm like, "Well, I'm on board right there. Show me a Honda. What's your Honda poetry?" And she would say, roses are red, violets are blue. And I'd stop right there and say, okay, you're making fun of me now. And she said, no, I'm not. That's literally how I'm starting the poem. And then I would say, wait a minute, you can't, 2016, you can't start any poem seriously with roses are red, violets are blue. And she says, that's not true. I'm challenging that assumption. I feel from my artistic soul that I need to start this Honda poem with roses are red, violets are blue. And I say, okay, I apologize for stepping on your artistic integrity. And she says, thank you. And I say, please continue. And she says, roses are red, violets are blue. I enjoy Hondas. And then I say, and you should too, because I'm assuming that's the end of the poem. She says, no, the end of the poem is a pause where you have an urge to make it rhyme, but you don't actually say it. That's how the poem works. And now I'm torn because I'm physically attracted to this woman. I really am, because she's wearing one of those Berettas. Is that the beret? She's wearing a beret. She could also be carrying a Beretta. And you know what? That would make her even a little more hot. She's carrying a Beretta and she's wearing a beret and she's quoting Honda poetry to me. And I find that very attractive. But at the same time, the poetry, I don't think is particularly good. And I remember I have a friend from college who talked about how he always had issues if he was dating, because we were both theater majors, and he said, it was awkward dating somebody who he doesn't think is a good actress. And I would have a similar situation here. How do I date someone who is clearly not, maybe poetry's not their thing? But that, you know what? Now I feel guilty for making a judgment on her poetry. I mean, if her poetry brings joy to her and it brings joy to other people, why am I sitting here judging that? That's ridiculous. So I would stop that. And then, this fear that I'm going to hurt her feelings, or this notion of how do I live with someone who's writing this kind of poetry, is just another one of those excuses for me to not just ask her out right there and say, hey, what are you doing later? And she's saying I'm a lesbian, and I'm going, of course you are, because I'm attracted to you, and I'm always attracted to women who end up being lesbians. That's how it happens. And she orders an absinthe, because I feel like she would somebody wearing a beret and a Beretta doing Honda poetry in France in a cafe would order an absinthe, and she orders an absinthe, and we talk a little bit more, maybe about Van Gogh. Is that Van Gogh? Van Gogh. That's Van Gogh would be Van Gogh as a teenage goth enthusiast. But then maybe was it Van Gogh? I don't know how it was pronounced. But we would talk about him, and I would say, yeah, I love the sunflower picture. There's just and the Starry Night one, that was good. Was that Van? I hope that's Van Gogh. Oh God, I could Google this. I just don't want to. And we have a nice conversation, and that's the end of it. And she leaves, and I go back to writing jokes about Star Trek Voyager, which I'm still trying to crack. Ding 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 ding. So anyway, I was sitting in this I don't know, I mean, like, cafe in the loosest sense of the term. And no offense against the cafe. It's not a sexy cafe. It's more of a utilitarian, office-y. It's a cafe in an office complex. So it's a businessy cafe, business cafe sort of thing. Almost more of a cafeteria. And I don't mean that as a slight. I'm just trying to be specific. And I'm sitting there, and TV's on, and it happens to be playing one of these children's programs. And I cannot stand how the children's programs, some of them really talk down to kids. It's just that insincere, hey kids, we're going to go on an adventure today. Let's go on an adventure today. Hey kids, what kind of craft would help you fly over the trees? A train? A plane? Or a boat? And I was sitting there hearing that, and I was thinking to myself, well, hopefully the plane would get you over the trees. Hopefully. I mean, in an ideal world, theoretically, there are times when it doesn't. I hate to break it to you kids, but, hopefully it would. Why do you want to go over the trees? Are you doing a survey? Over the trees specifically, where's your destination? Because if you just want to look down at trees, That's dangerous. It's just, why put yourself at risk? Even if you're flying in a commercial plane, every time you get on that plane and you're flying in the air, there's a chance, a tiny chance that something could go wrong. And why do you need to see the trees? Why do you need to go over the trees? I feel like you want to go over the trees maybe to experience life, but life can be experienced without taking risk. It can't, man, I have trouble with that. Maybe it can't. Maybe it can't. But there are other risks I feel like that don't generally risk your personal safety that I would recommend. I wouldn't take the train either. I wouldn't do that. I mean, this horrible story about the Amtrak train that just going. I'm not sure. Point is, I'm not a train fan. There's even a Power Ranger. One of the Power Rangers series, the Zords were trains, and how do you. You're assuming the bad guy is always going to be right there next to the track. That's a big assumption, especially when you're a Power Ranger. It's a risk. It's a risk. I wouldn't do trains. Then there's boats. Don't even get me started on boats. Boats going over the trees. You could. I mean, that would be a serious problem with the boat involving an explosion. But, to answer your question, children's cartoon, between the three, I don't need to see the top of the trees. I don't want any forms of transportation. I'm fine where I am. I can see the tree fine from here. I can extrapolate mentally what it looks like from the top, and that's enough for me. So thank you, okay? I don't like the way that they talk down. It's that voice, kids, we're going on an adventure today, kids. Like, here's how this is the children's show I would do. It would be in a living room. Not messy, but not entirely clean either. There's a few magazines, and there's maybe 2 empty bottles of Perrier. That would be the living room. And the host, the host would be, I could host it. That's fine. I'd host it, but I wouldn't do that voice. I'd be, hey kids, welcome to the morning show. I'm here to teach you, I'm here to teach you about life, kids. That's what I'm here to do. And sitting next to me, or sitting in the corner, would be Jean-Paul Sartre. And he'd be smoking a cigarette, and all he would do occasionally, the camera would pan to him, and he would just go, why? 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 That's all he would do. That would be his thing. It'd be a running gag, if you will. And we would, I'd have little lessons with the kids. I'd, teach them, you have to keep all your receipts. Don't not keep all your receipts. You can do it up to, they say 3 years, I say 5 years. Why gamble? Why roll the dice? I would teach them about good hygiene. You should brush and floss, because if you don't, your teeth are going to fall apart, and then that's thousands of dollars of medical bills. And it'll be right at the point of your life where the kids have just gone to college, and you want to splurge a little bit, but you can't, because now your teeth are falling apart, and you need your teeth to eat because you want to continue to eat the gluten that you're eating. That's the only thing that gives you joy in life. The only thing, gluten. And now you can't because your teeth are screwed up because you didn't brush, you didn't floss like you were supposed to. When you were watching the children's program, they said, brush and floss your teeth, because they were talking down to you, and you're like, don't talk to me like that. I will do what I want to do. I'm a fully realized human being. Even though you're not a fully realized human being at the time. Who is a fully realized human being? I don't know. I wouldn't have that discussion with the kids. That's a bit much. Or, on the other hand, would I? Kids might be a more fully realized human being than adults. I'm not sure. Anyway, point is, that would be my show. That's what I would do. I'm not sure how long this podcast is going. I'm going to take a look right now. Just curious. See where we're at. We're at, okay, perfect. 20 minutes, 50 seconds. I don't want this to be any more than 20 minutes, so I'm only a minute over. I am headlining a show in the Yoo-Hoo Room in April. It's a clean show, and I encourage the two of you who are listening to come and watch. For the date and the time, go to flapperscomedy.com. I hardly recommend that you do it. And it should be a lot of fun. A great show at Flappers Comedy Club in the Yoo-Hoo Room. I believe it's the third Sunday of April. That's what I want to say. I should know better by this point. But yes, go to the website, and I'll be posting about it on Facebook and Twitter as well. Come see me do a headlining set that might be even more incoherent, if you will. Hopefully not, but I'm sure we'll see. This is the end of the podcast. The end of the podcast. And the children sing and the children play because this is the end of the podcast. And now I'm going to press stop record.